license to practice law in Nigeria nearly 20 years ago. I was called about nearly 20 years ago. Here, my focus is family-based immigration. So I help immigrants like myself to obtain their green card and avoid all the hassles that come with it. You understand? So I've been on it for over 5 years now. And basically, I know a lot of people ask me this question, how my transition from being a Nigerian lawyer to becoming a lawyer here. And this message is for those of you who are Nigerian lawyers, who have the prospect of having a green card, or already have a green card, they are not sure of whether or not to practice law in the US. I am telling you right now, feel free to reach out to me. We can have a discussion. I'll share my ideas with you. The sky here is wide enough for everybody. We are not competing here, we are collaborating. Okay, so if you are a lawyer in Nigeria, you are looking to transit just as I've done, give me a call. We can have a conversation and you can take it up from there. Okay? So that is basically what it is. I practice immigration. Immigration is federal law. So what it means is that even though I'm licensed in Massachusetts, I can, represent anybody irrespective of where the person is, as long as it has to do with immigration law. Yes.
So, a lot of people in Nigeria want to quote and unquote JAPA.
Yes. And
JAPA topics have been very popular even on my live. I'm sure that's where you got this idea from. And a lot of people have given up good opportunities in Nigeria because they're following the crowd mentality abroad. A lot of people gambled and were successful. A lot of people took calculated steps and were successful, while some abroad are not doing as well as they could have been doing because of the kind of people they're surrounded with and the kind of ideas that they've been feeding themselves.
Yes.
So, how do you relocate well? Let me put it to you. How did you relocate? Did you do it the right way, or did you learn from mistakes you made?
All right. In terms of me in particular, I came here when Nigeria was still qualified for visa lottery. So I came on a visa lottery. All right. So my story is a little different from so many other people. Now, to put your question in a very simple way, what's the best way to relocate? Daddy Freeze, there's really no best way to come to the US. Everything depends on your situation and your circumstances and the choices that you make. Okay? If you, Daddy Freeze, wants to visit the US, unlike an average Nigerian, you have a second passport. I know how you coming here using the ESTA, that is your right way. Okay? Few weeks ago, you had this lady on your show. Was it Helen Paul? Yes?
Yes.
And I listened to a part of what she was discussing. She talked about how she came here using the J1 visa, and based on the fact that she had a lot of qualification. All right? And she was able to transition and relocate to the US through that means. All right? Now, what about that child on the street of Lagos who doesn't have any qualification, who didn't go to school, whose parents were unable to train, who doesn't have any skill? Don't they have the right to dream to come to the US? What is their own right way? Do you understand?
100%.
They too have the right to dream to come to the United States. Because whether you like it or not, this is still the #1 destination for most people. When people end up in Canada and UK, it's because US don't get K-leg for the workout. Let me be honest with you. But the truth remains that this is still the #1 destination for most people. So what is the best way for such a child who deserves to dream to come to the United States like everyone else? People coming through the border, is that the right way? As a lawyer, I will tell you it's not the right way. But are there US citizens today who came through the border? Yes. Do you understand? 100%. I remember a few years ago when I saw a documentary about how people came all the way from Cameroon by foot. They entered the US, came through the border. All right. After I watched that documentary, about a week or two later, a lady came to my office from Cameroon who went through that journey. That I was looking at that lady as if she was a ghost, because what I saw people go through to make it to the US. But guess what? I was looking at her as if she was a ghost, because that was the route she used to come here. But today, she's a green card holder. She has filed for her child to come over, and today she has a great life. When she was coming here, was that the right way? No, it wasn't the right way. But she made her choice. So you have to make your decision based on your own circumstances and go with it. What I will not do as a lawyer is to advise you to break the law in order to come here. But the moment you are here, you deserve to be guided on the processes of getting your green card and getting settled here. So to answer your question, there's actually no right way. Just make your decision, based on your own circumstances and what it is that you have.
So there's really no right way to come to the US.
There's no right
way. Circumstances. What about all these people that are selling the idea that, come like this, we can bring you to the US? You know, all those people that are agents.
Well,
how you deal
there
with
will always
those?
be agents. There will always be. This is a part of what I'm going to talk about, you know, because my focus is family-based immigration. You know, there are several ways to come here. You come through the employment route, it is there. You have the family-based, which is largely what I do. You have the humanitarian, which is asylum, you know. You can come through that route.
Before we come to the family-based, let's talk about asylum.
Okay.
Do you do asylum?
Generally, we don't do asylum. I don't personally do asylum, but I generally advise people on the issues of asylum, because when it comes to immigration, I normally service a particular demography, which is people that look like me, people and Nigerians. Those are people that come to me anyway, not that I choose them. They choose me. All right? And the challenges that we have with asylum is that for Nigerians in particular, I'm sorry, I don't want to make this discussion about Nigerians, but the more I think about it, the more I'll just have to make it about Nigerians. The truth is that other African countries, they can learn from what I'm saying, but the truth remains that I wish I'm not making it about Nigeria, but I will end up making it about Nigerians. All right? When it comes to Nigerians coming here, what people, first of all, you know how it is the basis to file asylum in the US, you have to be that you are being persecuted or you are under the fear of being persecuted in your home country. And the basis of that persecution will be because of your race, your nationality, because you belong to a particular special group and all what's not. So what normally happens is that when Nigerians come here with a visitor's visa and somehow they overstay, they will run into, I don't know how they get to do that, but somebody or somewhere, an agent or whatever will approach them and say, okay, file for asylum. All right? When you file for asylum, you'll be given a work authorization. And most times when people are new in this country, they don't really have an idea of how the process, they don't have an idea of how things work. Now, to them, filing asylum and getting your work authorization, to them, it means that they're already getting their papers. That is not what it means. When you file for asylum, you have 150 days before they can give you work authorization. So what these people, this so-called agent that you're talking about, what they do is that they will get these people to file for asylum, come up with whatever story they want to tell, and they will submit their petition for asylum. Now, the person on behalf of whom the asylum was filed doesn't even know what the story that was told about him in that asylum petition. All right? When you submit the application, you wait until you are invited for interview. The interview could take years, but eventually the interview will come. All right? Now, while you are waiting for your interview, you will be given work authorization. What these agents do is that they recycle story on your behalf. All right? They used to tell the story of Boko Haram, and they used to tell the story about female genital mutilation. They will tell all this story on your behalf. Don't forget that these stories are your story. Eventually, when you go for the interview, you have to defend the story that was told about you. And a lot of these people don't know the implication of what it is to file asylum. If you say you are running away from Nigeria, remember that for now you will never think about visiting Nigeria. They're not thinking about that. What they are focusing on, what they can do to start working and start earning monies. All right, forgetting the implication. And when you end up going for that asylum interview, 9 out of every 10 cases, they will deny you at that spot. They will now put you in deportation proceeding. Okay. Now, if you think you are in trouble for overstaying your visa, wait until you are placed in deportation. That is where the real problem is. But the thing is that a lot of people have been very lucky. Since they filed for asylum like 5 or 6 years ago, they have never been called for interview. Their work authorization has been renewed over and over again, and they are living their life in the US. Okay? So, how that will end up for them, I do not know. But be careful. Be careful when you come to the US and somebody is advising you to seek for asylum. Now, if you have basis for asylum, please go ahead and seek for asylum. But don't just do it just because you want to get work authorization. Because the impression they give is that, oh, and normally it happens in the church, unfortunately. They'll say, oh, I know this particular guy who has been helping people to get their papers. Get their papers, they mean is work authorization. Work authorization is not the same as getting a green card. Okay? So that is the problem a lot of Nigerians have, and that is why I advise people, be careful. I'm not telling you not to file asylum, but make sure you have a good basis to file asylum.
Now, let us talk about the one that is your core expertise.
Right.
The one that you are very good at. How does that work?
Now, we're talking about family-based petition. All right? Basically, what it means is that you, a non-citizen, obtaining a green card by way of your relationship with a U.S. citizen or a green card holder. All right? First, you have to establish what kind of relationship. There has to be a qualifying relationship. All right? We have the immediate family. There are people that are considered to be immediate family. Why there are people that fall into the preference category. So let me talk about the immediate family. If you are a U.S. citizen, you can file for your spouse. Your spouse is considered immediate family. You have a child who is under 21 and unmarried, is qualified as an immediate family. Then your parents are considered as immediate family. Parents are highly regarded when it comes to U.S. immigration. That is why when you are coming to U.S., when you are flying into you see a lot of grandmother and grandparents in the flight. You'll be wondering, how did these people get? Their children are filing for them. Okay, it is not a privilege; it is a right. If as a U.S. citizen you can file for your parents, they are as good as being here if they want to. Okay, so but in all of this, we have the preference category where you talk about married sons and daughters of U.S. citizens. You're talking about brothers and sisters of U.S. citizens. And you're talking about spouses, children, and unmarried sons and daughters of green card holders. This category is called a preference category. They are not immediate family. They are placed on waiting list. It takes time. Especially for brothers and sisters of U.S. citizens. If you have a brother who is a U.S. citizen, a sister who is a U.S. citizen, they can file for you, but it could take up to 15 years. All right? So I don't want to confuse us with that. Let me focus on the immediate family. The immediate family are your spouse. All right? Now I'm going to focus on that later, but let me talk about the parents. If you have a parent, you're a U.S. citizen and you have a parent who is you want to file for your parent, all you need to do is to establish that this person is your parent by way of maybe your birth certificate and maybe photos that you have taken over the years. If at the end of the day they are not convinced, they might ask you to do a DNA. All right. Then if you are a man, your parent, you have a child who is a U.S. citizen. You just have to show that, and the child was born out of wedlock, who is a U.S. You have to show that there is that father-son relation or father-daughter relationship. Okay, and also that child who is a US citizen your name must have been in the birth certificate. So just saying that somebody is your child or somebody is your father is not enough for you to just get the green card. You have to establish that relationship. If at the end of the day they are not convinced, they will ask you to do a DNA.
Wow.
Okay, and then you talk about a child. As a US citizen, you have a child who is unmarried and under 21. That child, you can file for that child, and there is no waiting list for immediate family. Remember, I said that all those people that qualify as immediate, there's no waiting list. Their visa is immediately available. When I say immediate, it doesn't mean there's still no processing time. It still take a little while, but the visas are available. There is no cap as to the number that comes in every year. A spouse, a child under 21, and your parents, they are immediate family. All right? Now, the same thing with your spouse. So now the advantage with this is that if those people are already in the US, this immediate family, they are already in the US. Say they came in through a visitor's visa and they overstayed. All right? You as a US citizen can still file for them and they will still get their green card even though they overstayed their visa. Even if they work unauthorized in the US, they will still get their green card if they are immediate family.
Oh, wow.
Yes. There's no punishment for working unauthorized. If I'm filing for my parents now and they're already here and they came in with a visitor's visa and they overstayed, they will still get their green card. If I have a spouse and the person is here on a visitor's visa or on a student visa and somehow they overstayed, they will still get their green card. I just need to establish that the relationship exists and, and that will be all. Okay? So I just want to point that out. I mean, also you can file for somebody who is not in the US. They will go through what is called the consular processing before they can get here. All right? So those are the advantage, but that immediate family that you can file for green card while they are here, they must have entered the US lawfully. Lawfully means they entered with a visa, say a visitor's visa or a student visa. It is not the same as sneaking in through the border. Do you understand?
What if
now,
they entered through student visa and they overstayed?
Yes. As immediate family, you can file for them. The fact that they overstayed, the fact that they work unauthorized doesn't matter. In fact, you have to admit, I tell my client, you have to admit that you are working unauthorized. Nobody cares. You will be forgiven. I want to say this because a lot of people, when they come, I'm not here to encourage you to violate your visa. That is not what I do. As a lawyer, I cannot do that. All right? But if for whatever reason you overstayed on your visa, just remember, that doesn't make you a criminal. All right? The system here, they know that a lot of people are here working unauthorized. They are paying their taxes. Don't forget that. And even in some states, I live in Massachusetts, people who are undocumented can actually get a driver's license. But again, let me warn, I'm not here to encourage anybody to violate their visa. But if for whatever reason you violate your visa, you overstay, there are ways to get out of the situation. And those are the things I've talked about. All right?
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people who come in under this try to get their green card through marriage to a U.S. citizen. And that is what I want to talk about more here. That's because as a U.S. citizen, your spouse qualifies as an immediate family. So when somebody come here from, say, Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, and somehow they overstay, they came in with a student visa or they come in with a visitor's visa, they overstayed. And they look at all their options. Most times they find out that the only viable option for them is through marriage to a U.S. citizen. Okay? And what do? They start looking for a U.S. citizen to marry. All right?
Somebody to destroy their life and tell them they love them. Meanwhile, they don't care about them.
No. Well, whether they love them or not is subject to you. How do we know that? So, I mean, that is just the reality. So, in situations like that, now, if you are going to marry a U.S. citizen, there are things that must be established. First of all, you have to establish that. That is where the agent again come in. This so-called agent that we're talking about. All right. So somebody came in with a U.S. visitor's visa. Somehow they overstayed, and they are looking for a way to get their green card. And an agent shows up. Maybe somebody will direct them. No, I hate to say it, a lot of times it happens in the church, and that is why they normally have confidence on the people who are directing them. It's almost like a syndicate for Nigeria. And people who are doing this are your fellow Nigerians. All right? Are your fellow Nigerians. They will tell you, oh, we have somebody that you will marry. All right?
In the church?
No, not in the church. It could be anywhere. It could be a homeless person. All right? They could get somebody who is a U.S. citizen that you will marry. All right?
Yeah.
And to you, because you are new in the country, because you are desperate, you end up getting married to those people. But one thing you are forgetting at that point is that just getting married to a U.S. citizen is not all that you need to get your green card. Brandishing a marriage certificate is not all that you need. In addition to getting married to a U.S. citizen, you need to also show that the marriage was made in good faith from the inception of that marriage. All right? You marry somebody, first of all, it's a valid marriage, then you have to show that the marriage was made in good faith. Now,
what do you mean by good faith?
Let me come to that. Good faith means that both of you, from the inception of the marriage, intend to live your life as a couple and share your life together. All right? That bona fide marriage or that good faith must exist from the beginning, not midway into the marriage. And maybe because you've filed your papers, you are not going for interview, you begin to trying to put things together to show that you married in good faith. No, the good faith part of it must start from the beginning. But like I said, good faith is something that is subjective. You can't go into somebody's mind to know their intentions. All right? Even the people in the marriage, it is still subjective for both of them. Everybody, you just believe this person believes in me, and I believe that the other person believes in me. But how do we determine the good faith from the eyes of U.S. immigration people? Is the document that we see, the things that we see on the surface. All right? Now, if you end up having a child together, that is a strong evidence of good faith. All right? And both of your names are in the birth certificate. That is a strong evidence of good faith. But let's take that aside, assuming there are no children. What are other things that you need to show? That is where a lot of people get into trouble. Okay? That is where a lot of people get into trouble. That is, if you know someone, and everybody listening to us today, I believe you know someone who has been in the U.S. for 20, 30 years. They have never left the U.S. It is not because they enjoy staying here, they don't want to go back. No, they don't want to go back to the original. Believe me.
Sometimes
one of the things
they are stuck.
They are stuck. Okay? One of the things we enjoy as having dual citizenship is that if I want to be in Nigeria tomorrow night, I will just fly into Nigeria. On my way back, nobody will ask me anything. As a U.S. citizen, even if immigration stopped me on the way, if I insult them, they're not going to do me anything. You understand? They will still let me in. They will let me in. Do you understand? So I'm just telling 100%. You, that is the privileges that we enjoy. And a lot of people are stuck. That is why I say today's broadcast is actually a humanitarian one, because at least I'm sure we are going to save one person from getting into that situation. Okay? I will give you an example.
Okay.
Let me give you an example of the implication of not getting things right and getting stuck here for years. A lady, this is a lady from the Caribbean. I don't want to mention the country. I filed a particular petition. She came here in 2013. I filed a particular petition for her after she got married to somebody. I filed a VAWA petition for her, basically. I will talk about VAWA later. And it took nearly for 4 years, the case was pending. Every day, this lady, or every month, nearly every month, this lady will call me and say, look, this case is taking too long. This case is taking too long. She wants to go home and see her 2 kids that she left in 2013 and her mother. All right? And guess what? While I was in Nigeria in December, January, in fact, while I was in January this year, somebody called me and introduced me as the sister of my client. And she told me that my client passed away in December 3rd. All right? Now, when I got back here, by end of March, I received an approval on her case. That is, as I'm speaking to you now, I have her card.
Green
Last
card.
week, I have her work authorization. Now, the next step, the main petition has been approved. She's just got to getting her green card is the easiest part now because the main petition has been approved. But once you get approved for VAWA, they'll give you work authorization. They send me the work authorization. I have it. There's nobody to call. All right? Last week, they sent me a message to say, okay, she should do her medical. Before you get your green card, you do your medical. I have a document with me. There's nobody to call. Now, this lady never had the chance to see her children again. She never had the chance to go home and see her parent, her mother, and she's passed away. I have a Nigerian client of mine who just returned from Nigeria this week, from Nigeria. He left home. This is a man now. He left home 7 years ago, left a wife, left a 5-month-old child, and came here 7 years ago. Finally, he went home this just returned because I filed a petition for him and he got his travel document and he went home. What I see here every day, believe me, when I say these things, it appears as if I'm exaggerating. I am not exaggerating. There are a lot of people who are stuck here, working, earning the dollar, sending it home to take care of their children. Sometimes teenagers and students who are in the university, they don't even know when they are going to see them because of some of the missteps, some of the pitfalls, some of the blunders they committed in the course of trying to get their green card. They don't want to go back because if they go back, they don't have the job back home to provide for the family. So they are stuck here. With the money they are making here, of course, the exchange rates, it takes care of the kids financially. The other day, one man he had 5 children, but he's been here 11 years. He told me his 5-year-old told him the other day that, Daddy, I don't know you. He said, giving me money is not enough because he doesn't know the father. The father left 11 years ago. The child is 16 years now. So the most heartbreaking part of this whole process is the family separation. Okay? Is the family separation. It is heartbreaking. If you are listening to me and your intention is to come to the US, pay attention. It's not about
attention, guys.
It is not about jackpotting. It's about getting it right so that you don't get stuck here. You don't want to be that guy who will be here for 10, 20 years, nothing. You just stay here, I mean, it's a beautiful place. Nobody is coming here to chase you, to grab you and deport you. It hardly ever happens, except you're a criminal. You understand? It hardly ever happens. So you have to, in the case of establishing a relationship, being married to a U.S. citizen, you have to establish that the marriage was made in good faith. You have to show that you have income, you are mixing your income together. And here, that is where the things are. So you have to show your photograph. You have to show that you are showing off the other party as your spouse. Those are the things that they look at to determine if the marriage was made in good faith. And that is where a lot of people get it wrong. So now, what do I tell somebody who got deceived into marrying a U.S. citizen and has not filed their papers? Who got deceived into marrying somebody and you are listening to me now and you have not filed your papers?
What could have made them delay filing the papers?
Sometimes they are trying to put documents together. You understand? You have to show that you and the person are together for real. Sometimes it takes time. But if you have never done that and you know deep down that this is not really a marriage made in good faith, you are not really interested in sharing your life with this person, what would my advice be? You probably should withdraw. Sorry, not withdraw. Don't even bother filing.
Why?
Now what? Because you're going to run into problem. Because a lot of times, this agent that will introduce you to this person you are going to marry, after marrying the person, you may not, if you are calling them on the phone, you're not going to get them on the phone. Imagine somebody who is supposed to be your spouse and you're calling them on the phone the following day, you don't even know where they are. How can you file a petition to say that both of you are together?
So those ones just collect your money for no reason.
They will collect your money and guess what? Because of the fact that the contract you had with them and they collected that money is an illegal contract, you can't even come after them. You can't enforce it. You understand?
Right.
So now, what about somebody who got deceived into that process, but they already filed their papers and they are listening to me? Remember the first one I said, somebody who already married have not filed. What about somebody who has filed already, but they have not been called for interview? What would my advice be? My advice would be to withdraw. All right?
Still?
But the difference between withdrawing now and not filing at all is that when you withdraw, USCIS will tell you that they still reserve the right to adjudicate the case. Do you understand?
100%.
Now, if you decide to go for the interview, because most cases they will invite you for interview. What do they do in the marriage interview? They want to ask questions to determine if both of you are actually for real in this marriage. Okay? Here in Boston, they normally will separate. In some states, in some locations, they will ask you the question. You'll be together and they will ask you the question at the same time. Here in Boston, they will separate you. They will ask you certain questions. You know, there are basic questions you, as a couple, you're supposed to know about each other. Say you appear in that interview that morning, they say, oh, how did you get here this morning? Because as a couple coming from your home, you are supposed to have come together. They will ask you, how did you get here? These are basic questions they normally ask. Or they will say, oh, what did you have for breakfast this morning? Okay? These are questions that they ask. And let me tell you, if what you had is not a real marriage, it is better not to go. It's not a go to that interview, because there you will expose yourself the more and you get into a big mess. Because at that point, there will be so much discrepancies in your answers, and they will not have a good reason to hold you. It becomes more difficult to overcome the allegation of marriage fraud. Okay? That is it. It is tough at that point. Okay. Now there's something going on that the phrase. There's an epidemic of alleged fake divorce from Nigeria. Let me tell you something. The problem associated with Nigerians is almost as it's like an industry on its own here. I don't believe. That is why I said at the end of the day, I say I will end up making this case about Nigerians. Let us learn. All right. I wish there's a language I can speak that will exclude every other person, but unfortunately, I have to speak English or pidgin English for us Nigerians to understand. Okay. There's an epidemic of alleged fake divorce decree coming from Nigeria. I said alleged. Remember that if you marry a U.S. citizen, part of what you have to show is that any previous marriage has been properly terminated. Okay. So when people come here and they overstay their visa and they feel like, look, this is my previous marriage and want to get rid of it, what they do is that while already in the US, they will call somebody in Nigeria to get them a divorce decree. All right? Now, I have to be honest with you. Sometimes what they will tell me is that they actually called a lawyer and they will get a divorce decree for them. All right? And over the years, it has been a problem. I do not believe there's an immigration lawyer who practices family law here, family immigration, that does not have a case of a Nigerian on his desk. I guarantee you, and everybody knows about it. And the funny thing is this: Nigeria has 36 states, but most of these alleged documents, fake documents, are coming from Lagos. You understand? Some of these or appear to be coming from Lagos. Let me put it that way, because we don't really know where it's coming from, if it is fake in real terms, but alleged. Now, it has been so bad that originally what they do is that they will go as far as verifying that document in Lagos. All right? But right now, they no longer do that. They don't go as far as trying to verify. Because if they are alleging that your document is counterfeit, what they are basically saying is that your current marriage is void, meaning that your so-called previous marriage is still pending, is still valid. So you are in a bigamous marriage per se. All right? So when they are alleging that your document is fraudulent, is counterfeit, that is what they are saying. So they go as far as verifying these documents. All right? And when they verify, they will tell you in their decision, in their denial, they will give you details of how they went as far as verifying this document. But these days, they don't go that far anymore because, listen, it is so many that, of course, they don't have the resources to be doing that. So what they do now is when you, as a Nigerian who has arrived here, you want to get married to a U.S. citizen and you have a previous marriage that you need to terminate and you get this divorce from Nigeria and you submit your petition, what they will do is that they will look at the documents and they will look at the divorce decree that you brought from Nigeria. They will point out certain discrepancies on it. All right? Because to them, they know the real one and they know the one they accuse of being fake or being counterfeit. Sorry for using fake, the word. Sorry. So they will point out some discrepancies. For instance, in Nigeria, when you get a divorce, you first get a decree nisi. Then after 90 days, then you get a decree absolute. That 90 days must be 90 days. So some of these documents, you see that it's short of that 90 days between the time you got the decree nisi and the time you got the decree absolute. So they will point that one as a basis to say this is not a genuine document. All right? Sometimes they'll look at the template. They will say, no, this is not the Nigerian template for divorce. Or they will look at the person who signed the document. They will say, no, because that person is a public figure. Your record should be on public domain. So they will look at it and say, oh, we don't believe this is a genuine document. So on that basis, they will point out those discrepancies. On that basis, they will deny you and say, we are accusing you, we believe that this document is fraudulent. It's a forgery, yes. And on that basis, they will deny you. So this is a huge problem for so many people. What I'm telling you today, why it's going to save somebody, believe me, it's going to take money off the pocket of many lawyers, because lawyers make more money when you're in trouble anyway. Believe me. But people need to know these things. Okay? Now, assuming you submitted a document that you genuinely believe is a real document, you contacted a lawyer in Nigeria, and they told you that they are going through the process of getting you a divorce, and you submitted it here, and you believe the document is real, what do you do? My position is this. If you believe that your document is real, you stand by your document. Okay? You stand by that document. Don't forget, what they are saying is that they believe, they are alleging that the document is real. They don't have 100% proof yet. Stand by your document. In law, he who alleges must prove. Okay? And I can tell you, proving fraud is often not easy. So, if you believe your document, I keep saying it, if you believe, I'm not here to tell people to submit fake documents. If you believe your document is real, stand by your document. It is their duty to prove that it is fraudulent. It is not your duty to prove that it is not fraudulent. Okay? The worst come to worst, you end up in court. If the USCIS deny, you end up in court. Okay? So people need to know this. If you believe your document is real, is genuine, stand by it. There will always, we are almost at the point where almost every document, divorce decree coming from Nigeria by default is alleged to be fraudulent. It shouldn't be, because there are still genuine ones. So if your own is genuine, you believe it's genuine, stand by your documents. Let the person alleging that it is counterfeit, let them prove it. Okay? Now, how do we even avoid all of these things? How do we avoid it? If you are here and you overstay your visa, you overstay, and you find somebody to marry in good faith, and you want to terminate your previous marriage that was contracted in Nigeria, file the divorce here in the US. You don't have to do it in Nigeria.
But will it work? Would it be recognized?
Absolutely 100%. You are hearing it here for the first time. It is absolutely right. There are so many misconceptions out there that I need to debunk. It is right for you to file. As far as immigration is concerned, the divorce decree, you can get the divorce here in the US, provided that the marriage was valid wherever it was contracted. You just need to bring the marriage certificate and file your divorce. When it comes to divorce matter, it's state by state. The rules are state by state. But in general, you can get your divorce. Immigration does not care where the divorce happened. What matters to them is that the previous marriage was properly terminated.
Properly annulled, yeah.
If you are in any state, look for an immigration lawyer. Sorry, not immigration, a divorce lawyer who will help you with the divorce process. Here in Massachusetts, because I'm licensed here, I can do divorce matters. All right? But I cannot do for somebody in New York because I'm not licensed in New York. Divorce is state specific. All right? Family matters are state, just like criminal matter. Unlike immigration that is federal. Okay? Don't bother trying to get a divorce in Nigeria. Get it here. Most cases, what they require for you to file a divorce in most of these states, including my state, Massachusetts, is you have to meet certain residency requirements. All right? In Massachusetts here, you must have lived in this state for at least 1 year for you to file a divorce. When I say residency requirement, it means you have resided here for at least 1 year. It has nothing to do with your immigration status. Please hear me out. If you go to family court, all right, or divorce court, nobody cares about your immigration status. Because I see a lot of people who are undocumented, and they are afraid to approach the court. Okay? There's nothing to be afraid of. I've represented people who, in court, the other party will be telling the judge that this person is, my client is undocumented, thinking that the judge will take action against the person. I don't even, if you're accusing my client of being an illegal immigrant or being undocumented in a divorce case, at the end of the day, my response will simply be, Your Honor, we don't have to respond to that. This is not an immigration court. All right? It doesn't matter if the person is undocumented. You need to approach the court and get your divorce. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about your immigration status. So don't be afraid to approach the authorities. Don't be afraid to if somebody sues you in court, don't run away from court just because you're undocumented. Go to court. Nobody will ask you about your immigration. If the issue of your status comes up there, tell them this is not an immigration court. Okay? So I want people to understand that, because people carry this burden, being undocumented. They carry the burden as if you're not a criminal for being by overstaying your visa, for Christ's sake. It's a civil violation. It doesn't make you a criminal. And that is not to say that I'm encouraging you to violate the terms of your visa and overstay. No, that is not what I'm saying. But I have a duty to also tell you the implication of doing that. What happens after that? All right? So you can get your divorce here and you will avoid all of this problem. That is one big misconception that I need to tackle. And also, there's this may not have to do with anything. It has little or nothing to do with immigration, but I feel like I need to talk about it. One is that you hear people say things like, And I saw such a caption in your in one of your videos. I don't know, but it probably has to do with something that happened in Europe. But I believe they're all similar anyway. Oh, if you get married to somebody in Europe or in America, don't put the person's name. If you're buying a property, don't don't put your wife's name or your husband's name on the property. When people say these things, I laugh. I know this is a family law matter. I'm speaking for those in Massachusetts, but it's very similar everywhere. If you are married to somebody and you acquire property during the pendency of the marriage, it does not matter in whose name that property is. It is still marital property. I don't care whether you hide it in your mother's name, or in your father's name, in anybody's name. If that property can be traced to you, it is marital property. In some states, they call it community property.
Property.
This idea of,
let me ask you a question. What if I'm married to Remy here, for instance, and I build houses in Nigeria? Can that still be tied as community property?
If you bought those property during marriage,
name.
It is, but the problem there is proving the existence of a property in Nigeria may not be too easy here. You understand? The textbook law is that it is community property. I remember one time this matter went viral. Hakimi of PSG, we bought he was getting a divorce and he had the property in the mother's name. I was looking at that story. It happened in Europe. I believe it was in Europe. I know that police cannot be true. I know 100% it cannot. I know it's in Europe. Things are very similar the way it is done here in the US. But I can tell you 100%, there was no way that could have been true. If you like, hide it with anybody's name, except you have an agreement with the spouse to say, okay, this is your own, this is my own. Property acquired during the pendency of a marriage is marital property. Even in some states, even the one you acquire before you marry. If, say, you bought a property and you and your spouse move in, I don't want to make it about woman or man, it could be anybody. You and your spouse move into that property and she contributed to the upgrading of that property, even though you purchased it before you married her, you could still benefit from it. Here in Massachusetts, it's called equitable distribution. It's not equal division. Equitable. It is at the discretion of the judge.
For instance, the best thing to do is buy your property in Nigeria, in UK, somewhere else, and live in a rented property in the US.
So you are just trying to see how someone can avoid those situations. The truth of the matter is that, well, if UK is a developed country, they have a very working system.
You buy it in your mother's name in the UK.
You remember what I said? If it can be traced to you,
you buy it with crypto.
Because it's one thing to have it, it's another thing to trace it to you. If you have if the other party has an aggressive lawyer who is ready to dig up everything about you, okay, they can go after you. All right. So it's a question of, can they trace and prove that? Can they connect that property to you? That's just what it is. Okay. Let's get that out of the way, because it's a huge misconception people have. It doesn't work that way. I don't care in whose name it is. It is marital property. And also, we always say, oh, they're going to divide the property half. Normally, it's not. In Massachusetts, they say equitable distribution. What that means is at the discretion of the judge. They'll look at the circumstances and say, and most people who throw about this misconception, ask them, have they actually gone through the court process? They have not. They are just repeating what somebody told them. I guarantee you, most times people are saying these things, they are just repeating what somebody told them. They have never really gone through any process, legal process yet. Ask them if they have ever hired a lawyer. They have never. People don't hire lawyers especially when they are new here. Let me tell you something. That's another issue here, because a lot of people run into this problem because they don't want to hire a lawyer, because they come from a culture where lawyers are not well paid. They come to the US. Let me tell you something. A Nigerian who just arrived here a few months ago or recently, the way I see $100 is not the way they see $100. A Nigerian is looking at $100 as 150,000 naira. All right? Who just arrived. That is the way they see it. You see $100, the first thing you do, you convert it in naira. It's a lot of money. You say, how can I pay a lawyer $150 or $200 for just consultation? They don't want the lawyer. Then one agent will tell them, oh, come, I will help you do this and that, and they'll rush to that agent. Then by the time they get into trouble, they will have 20,000. They won't even find a lawyer to pay it to. Because depending on how complicated your case is, if you need a really specialist on a particular area, you can't even get a booking. But you can save all of that by just listening to me. Next time you call me and say, oh, I'm in trouble, I didn't, because the answer they give me is that, oh, when I came here, I didn't know anybody, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you are knowing me, you are knowing it today, because I'm going to refer anybody that calls me after now and say, look at this video, go, you saw this video. All I'm saying is that make sure you are properly guided when you are going through immigration. That is the key word. Make sure you are properly guided. That is all I can tell you. Don't take advice from somebody who got their green card 20, 30 years ago. They have no idea what is going on. We are the ones in the process, in the heat of it. We see what is going on. Okay, so I will talk about VAWA petition. Somebody on your show spoke about it a little. I know this IT guy that comes on your show. That was how he got his green card. It's the IT guy. Yeah. He spoke about it. That was how he got his green card. VAWA petition. It basically means, VAWA basically means the Violence Against Women Act. Violence Against Women Act. When you are a non-immigrant and you are getting your green card through by relying on a US citizen or a green card holder, and you begin to suffer abuse, all right? And in most cases, it is because they are helping you out and things go wrong in the relationship, and now you are in a mess. And you stayed in that relationship just because you want to get a green card. This law was passed specifically to protect people like that. It was passed in 1994. It has gone through a lot of changes since then, but it is a very effective way for one to get a victim of domestic abuse to get their green card. Now, when I talk about VAWA, people think I'm just trying to exaggerate things because I'm looking for a client. Believe me, it is very rampant, the abuse people go through. People who are in genuine relationship and the US citizen or the green card holder who is filing their petition are subjecting them to unspeakable abuse. Abuse can take different shapes and sizes. It could be threat of deportation. It could be financial abuse. It could be physical abuse. And in many cases, the non-immigrant is afraid to get the police involved because they are afraid, because they don't have status. They are afraid to get the police. I am telling you right now, if you are going through abuse, by your petitioner, do not hesitate to get the police involved. If you are going to physical abuse, call the police. Police are not there to determine your immigration status. They don't care about it. They want to determine if a crime has been committed. They will take inventory of what happened. All right. In VAWA cases, you don't really need those kind of evidence, the physical evidence, the police report to prove your case. But of course, I can tell you, it helps to make your case stronger. Involve the police if you are subject. Then abuse could be emotional, psychological abuse. It is very rampant. Do you know that I have up to 2 times I've received a call of somebody who is going through abuse, and they call me directly, and they don't want to call the police because they're afraid of calling the police. In one case, I was telling the lady, can you give me your address? She refused to provide me with the address. Then on second occasion, this lady somehow gave me the address. I had to call the police. I looked up and called the nearest police station there to go and do a welfare check. Normally, as a lawyer, I'm not supposed to discuss my client matter, but when I feel like there's a danger, I have to break that confidence. I have to break that confidentiality rule. You understand? So it is a serious matter. A lot of people go through abuse all in the name, and they get stuck up with that person who is abusing them just because the person is filing a green card for them. I am telling you right now that you have a chance to get your green card and move on with your life. And when you file the VAWA petition, the abuser doesn't even have to know about the petition. He will never know. The abuser, he or she will never know that a petition has been filed. They will never know that a petition has been filed. Even if when you are still living with the abuser, they will never know that a petition has been filed. The law is there to protect abuses, and it's called violence against women, and it protects both men, not just women. The guy that was on your show that talked about is a man. I think Asuko, yes, Asuko. All right?
Yeah.
So people must learn to take advantage of this. You can file it. Even if you've gotten a divorce, you can still file it, and the divorce was because of the abuse. You can still file this petition within 2 years of your marriage, within 2 years of the divorce. All you need to do, you show that the marriage was made in good faith. You still need to show that the marriage was made in good faith. You show that you live with the person, even if for a short period of time. You have to show that you're somebody of good behavior. Then you can now tell the story of the abuse. And God willing, if you have evidence to back it up, physical evidence, it makes your case stronger. Now, when you file a VAWA petition, while the case is pending, they will provide you with work authorization for 5 years. They will give you travel documents. You can travel while the case is pending, up until the case is decided. Okay? So please, if you are a victim of, or you are going through abuse, you must be prepared to take advantage of it. It protects you from deportation once the case is pending. Nothing happens to you. Okay? So let me talk briefly about fiancé visa. All right.
Oh, wow.
Fiancé visa. Now, I say this because the law allows you to marry any U.S. citizen. I'm talking about those who are outside the U.S. and they are looking to file a fiancé, and they are looking to benefit from a fiancé visa. Maybe they have a fiancé who is a U.S. citizen. They want to file, the U.S. citizen want to file a fiancé visa for them. First of all, it is only a U.S. citizen that can file a fiancé visa for you. All right? Now, the single most important requirement for a fiancé visa is that you and that person must have met at least once in person within the past 2 years before you start the application. I repeat, when you are filing a fiancé visa, say you are outside, you are non-citizen outside the U.S., you somehow meet somebody online, you know, and you develop a relationship. I've seen people who develop relationship online, get engaged online, they have never met. All right? So before you devote or you invest so much emotion and time on somebody who is a U.S. citizen and you are outside the U.S., I want you to bear in mind this key requirement. The requirement is that you must have met in person at least once before the person starts filing the petition. Now, the question is, how do you meet? All right? Because you are there in Nigeria or you are in Ghana and this U.S. citizen is here. What if they are skeptical about going to Nigeria? What if they don't want to go to Nigeria or if they don't want to go to Ghana? It allows you to meet the person in a third-party country. You can meet anywhere else, provided you can prove that both of you have actually met. Okay? So what it means is that you have to document your movement. Assuming you decide, oh, let's meet in Dubai. The person doesn't want to come to Nigeria. Let's meet in Dubai. You have to prove that both of you actually met within a certain time before you file the petition. Okay? Now, the question, a lot of times, U.S. citizens will ask me, oh, what if I invite the person over so that we can meet here in the U.S.? All right? What if I invite the person, let them come with a visitor's visa? If you go as a Nigerian, as a Ghanaian, you want to apply for a visitor's visa, and you already have a fiancé here, the moment you indicate that you have a fiancé, that will be a grant to deny you the visa anyway.
Why?
Because they will look at it as if you are trying to bypass the process of a fiancé visa.
Oh.
Do you understand?
Yes.
So the assumption at that point, I mean, I'm not saying you can't get it, but the reason you have to go above and beyond to convince them that, oh, I'm not going there to stay. Because if you come with a fiancé, if you come with a visitor's visa, you can actually violate the terms of that visa, and the person can still marry you and give you a green card. So if you have a fiancé in US and you are looking to meet, it's very unlikely they will allow you to come to US to meet the person for the sake of meeting that requirement of in-person meeting. Okay? So applying for a visa, I say this because a lot of people will try to apply for visa, because I'm going to talk about a B1, B2 visa shortly. A lot of people will try to apply for a visa and they will be denied multiple times. When the person is now ready to file for you proper, either the fiancé visa or the marriage visa, if you are married with that person at that point, because you have been denied multiple times going to apply for visitor's visa, they will be looking at you as if you are desperate to come to the US. So the scrutiny that we're going to put on your current petition will be very strict. It will be scrutinized the more. Okay? So that is about fiancé visa. So if you are getting involved with somebody, I say this because we are in the internet stage, people meet online, people get involved online. Before you invest your time and emotion with somebody who is a US citizen, in the hope that one day you get married, remember this requirement that both of you must have met in person. Okay? So let me talk briefly about visitor's visa.
Okay. We have to
maybe that would be
We've already done 1 hour, 10 minutes, and I want 2 people to ask you questions.
So this is a quick one. This is a quick one.
My very good friend, what's her name again? Shali. So Shali, after he finishes, you're going to ask one question, and another person is going to ask another question. Okay, go ahead.
So the reason I want to talk about visitors visa is because for most people watching us from Nigeria today, their only chance of ever making it to the US might be through the visitors visa. I mean, if you don't have somebody to file for you to marry you or do the visa, or you don't have employment, or you can't afford coming to school in the US, you know, a whole lot of other processes, the only chance of coming to US might be through attempting to come through the visitors visa. And I don't do visitors visa for people, the B1, B2 visa. We don't do it. Okay? But the reason I'm discussing it here is that, one, most people are going to come, if you're told you're going to come to the US, it's going to be through that means. And secondly, a lot of the problem people are facing here, when they eventually get here and they're trying to adjust and get their green card, can be traced to what happened when they applied originally for visitors visa. For most people, when they're applying for visitors visa, do you know what they do? They will get an agent. We are talking about agent again. An agent will prepare everything for them. An agent will prepare things for them. And one of the important things about visitors visa is to show that you have ties to your home country, meaning that things like you have secured employment, you have money in your account, you have properties and things. These are what are considered ties. Things that the officer will look at and say, oh, there's no way that the freeze is going to abandon this thing and just go and stay in US. He's going to come back. Okay? And one of such ties is marriage. So what normally happens is that the agent might indicate that you are married when you are not even married. As part of trying to prove that you have ties, the agent will write in your application form for the visitor's visa that you are married. In many cases, you don't even know what was submitted. You don't even have a copy of what was filed for you. Now, when you get the visitor's visa, you end up in US. And eventually you are looking to marry a US citizen, and you marry a US citizen, and you are applying for your green card. What happens? They'll go back to the record. They will tell you what happened. You were married. Did you get a divorce? That is when you realize for the first time that what was indicated for you was marriage, when in fact you were single. And guess what? That is a material misrepresentation.
Right.
All right? The implication of material misrepresentation or fraud is permanent bar to getting a green card. So people must be careful. I'm talking about this visitor's visa because a lot of your problem can be traced to when you apply for visitor's visa. So if you're not ready for visitor's visa, don't even bother trying to apply for it in Nigeria. Okay? So yeah, I'm ready for any question that you have or anybody may have. Remember, I'm focused on family-based petition. If you're asking about employment, that will be for another day.
You are definitely going to come back.
Yes.
Of all my guests, you have been the one that has the highest audience, 858 people watching you live, almost 1,000 people.
Yeah, I told you we have to save at least one person. If we save one person from getting into immigration mess,
you know I've
done my job.
Nobody here has doubted anything you've said since morning. Everybody's like, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about. This guy knows what he's talking about. So, Charlie, I'm bringing you live. Please ask your question. All right, Charlie. Go ahead. Ifeanyi is right here. Go ahead with your question.
Hi, how are you doing?
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good.
So I just wanted to quickly ask, right? I have this case and it's really been bothering me for a while. Now I've been to America in and out like 5 times. Okay. I've been issued a B1, B2 visa twice. But my last trip, I had my son there. Okay. So when I got back, I think after a couple of years later, I reapplied for a B1, B2. I wanted to do the Dropbox. I think that was the time they canceled the Dropbox thingy, right?
Right.
After Trump's administration. So I was called in for an interview. They asked me a couple of questions. I answered them correctly, and then they said my visa was still processing. They were going to send me supplemental questions to finish processing my visa, right? A couple of days later, they sent me the supplemental questions. I filled them out. I sent them back, but I didn't hear from them. And then at that point, what I wanted to go and do in the US, the time had passed, so I didn't follow up. Now, years down the line, I applied for a visa, a visit visa, and I was denied. Now, I was really concerned about the denial because I was supposed to take my son, who is an American citizen, to America for a surgery, for medical purposes. Right. And I gave them everything I needed, they needed and everything. When I went for the interview, the first question they asked me was, I had him in America. I said yes. On a B1, B2 visa, I said yes. They asked me, did I pay my medical bills? I said yes. They asked me for the receipts, but I didn't have it with me there. I said, I have my receipts, but I don't have it here. And so they denied that visa. Okay. Yeah. And a year later, I reapplied. This time around to go for a visit, and I went with the receipts just in case they ask, and I was still denied again. So it got me really wondering, like, what could be wrong? Because the reason they kept telling me was I don't have strong ties, which is definitely not true. I'm a traveler. I've been traveling abroad for over 20 years. I have never been denied a visa ever. That was the first time. American embassy was the first people, and that's after I have been to America and back. So I'm wondering what could be the problem.
Now, you remember I said from the beginning that I don't do visitor's visa, and there's a reason for that.
Okay.
When it comes to visitor's visa, right? You the decision is at the discretion of the officer in front of you. All right. Now, when I talk about discretion, let me describe it this way. I am the officer. Everything you submitted is okay, but I don't feel like giving it to you. You understand?
Yeah.
That is just what the discretion means. And why we don't represent people for visitors visa is because, as a lawyer, I'm supposed to fight for my clients. There's no right of appeal. All you need to do, you go back and after some time you reapply. You can't even fight them. Okay? Now, what it means is that the reason for the denial could be subjective within the mind of the officer. It is you that will be making the guess. In this case, it could be because when you went there and had a baby, you did not go through the proper channel of having a baby, medical. There's a process for, you have to document the fact that you inform them that you're having a baby.
I actually did. You see, somebody, I spoke with an immigration lawyer because I really wanted to find out, because I knew definitely it wasn't bills. I cleared all my bills. I have all my receipts. Okay. Now, the question I was asked, the immigration lawyer I spoke to, she asked me, when I was applying for the visa, what did I tell them I was going to do?
Exactly.
I told them I was going to visit, which was true. Okay, which was true. Now, this visa was given to me, was issued in August. I went to visit America in December. That they give 2 years. Okay, so it was in that December that I conceived. Do you understand? So the visa was still valid, and I went the second time. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. So it was not like I said I was going for a visit and I didn't know. I actually did go for that visit because I was not pregnant when I applied for that visa.
Okay, but when you got to the US,
you have canceled that visa and applied for a childbearing, whatever.
When you got to the US, at the time you conceived, you went to the US. Did you stay the whole 9 months?
No. I didn't stay the whole 9 months. I was just in the US for, I think, about 3-4 months, and I was back.
Then you went back again for give birth.
Yeah, is the bet I'm talking about. I spent 3-4 months for the bet. The first time, the initial time I went for the visit, the purpose for which I applied for the visa, I think I spent about a month.
Yeah,
which was
that time
December.
But the time you went back when you were already pregnant, that could be interpreted to mean that you went there purposely to give birth. At that point, it's not your usual regular visit. And
no, but I had already. You see, they give you multiple entry.
I know,
right? For visit. Do you understand? I had already done what I wanted to do. The reason I actually even went to have I had issues, and I remember I wrote a letter to the embassy because they asked me at point of entry. I remember I did. I wrote a letter to the embassy stating that I am going, for medical. I had medical. I'm going for medical purposes. Blah 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 blah. I didn't get any response. And at the point of entry, when I was going to have my baby, they asked me, and I told them because I was, obviously pregnant. And they asked me, and I told them this is what I'm going to do, and they let me go. They stamped me in 6 months. I did what I had to do, and I left. So
look at it this way. What you are going to do is this, because at the end of the day, all we can do is speculate what could have been the reason. That is the frustration with visitors visa. All right. So what you will do is that if you are reapplying, whatever it is that you think could be the reason, if it is you have to address it first. Explain everything that happened. Provide evidence of payment of the medical bills. All right? And you are making a guess, but it's very likely it's connected to that. Your mind is telling you that, and it could be the reason.
No, but,
all right?
I didn't, I never ever, giving birth in America, everybody does it. like it was a crime. I didn't think
Not anymore.
it's a crime.
Not anymore. It doesn't happen like that anymore. It does. And when was this? Was it during Trump?
No, this was towards the end of Obama, but
Okay.
yeah, I think 2016. It was the same year that Trump became president. So I think it was after Trump came in, and the whole immigration laws were messed up. He did a whole lot of things.
A lot of Nigerians were turned back at the port of entry during Trump. It is, and when you get a visitor's visa, it is the man at the port of entry that actually has the power to let you in or not to let you in. And before we leave, let me also say that what you put on social media matters, because the immigration officer you are appearing before might be, while you are in front of them, they are looking at what you posted on social media. Visitor's visa is purely for a visit. So what I'm going back to your own issue there, what I will advise is that when next you are applying, address that issue. The issue of your visits, how you took care of things, how you informed them beforehand that you were going there for medical, how you went there and paid for all the bill. Address it first. Let it be the first thing whoever you're going to decide that case will look at. All right? Then you make your application again.
Okay.
Can't you get a lawyer? Can't you help? Is there any way you can help?
I don't think lawyers do B1, B2 visas.
Lawyers don't like doing. Some will do it anyway, but lawyers don't like doing it because me as a Nigerian, when you are doing it for a Nigerian, they think because you are in America, you are going to exercise some extraordinary power. There is no extraordinary power. Okay, the denial rate for B1, B2 visa is very high. Okay, and you don't have right of appeal. That if these things are strange to you, you have 2 passports.
But America too. My passport gets to Canada visa free, not America. So,
okay. Well, you apply for ESTA or whatever. There's something you need to apply. So you can't compare yourself to a typical Nigerian with a Nigerian passport. You understand? Like that was why I said everybody with their own experience and of choices. Okay, so. The answer I will give you, we can only speculate what the reason is.
Okay, if I wanted to do other things, like if I wanted to go to the US for other things, maybe business or something, what would you advise?
When you talk about business, B1, B2 visa, it could either be for business or for pleasure. All right. So there's a category of you have the B1, you have the B1 is for business. So it depends. You can still apply for. But the problem is that when you already have a denial, because it's a non-immigrant visa.
Yeah.
Remember, it is a non-immigrant visa. Now, assuming you have another category of visa, say you have a marriage petition or you have employment, all right? They are still going to decide that case separate. It's a separate petition, but it depends on what they will still. That is not to say they are not going to look at why the B1, B2 was denied. If it is just denial, a simple denial because they feel like you don't have ties in the US, that is not a problem. You only have a problem when they think that you violated the terms of your V1, B2 visa. Do you understand?
Yeah.
If you go and apply, they look at you and say, "We don't believe you. You don't have enough ties." They deny you, no problem. Okay? You can do other things. You can come back again after 6 months or whatever, or you can apply for other category of visa. But when they deny you because they believe you violated the terms of your visa, it becomes a problem.
But
if they deny you because you submitted a fraudulent document, it becomes a problem.
Why is it so difficult? Like, why don't they, tell people outrightly what is wrong? Because I personally don't believe that I don't have strong ties is the reason why I was being denied. Because come on, if I was going to the US to go and run away, I've been there 5 times. Do you understand? I've gone there and come out and gone there and come out, and I didn't run away.
Yeah.
You get what
I mean, if it could happen to you, imagine somebody who is applying for the first time, the denial rate is very high. That's just the reality of it. That is just the reality of B1, B2 visa. That is just the reality. And if you have multiple denial and later you have another category of visa, say somebody is now filing green card for you, because you have multiple denial, that your particular petition will be scrutinized more. Right. They are likely going to sit on it, because at that point they are looking at you as somebody who is desperate to come to the US.
Right.
For it. If they deny you, just go home and try again next time.
It's just, I mean, it's just funny because my first, like I said, my first application, the first time I applied, they gave it to me. They gave me 2 years. I used it. I applied again. They gave me a second one. It was that second one that was the last one that I used.
It's unfortunate, but like I told, just if you are going to try it again, address what you perceive that might have been the reason. Address it first. Let this be the first thing to address. You can't ignore that issue and just applying again. No, they will deny it again. First of all, address that issue. Explain everything that happened. Provide the receipts.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yes, address it first.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Daddy Freeze.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
For your... Bye.
All right. So any more questions? One more question, and then we can call it a day. We've been on for about 1 hour, 30 minutes. Questions only. I don't want you to come and give us advice. We have lawyer already. So if you have a question, send message. If you not get question, quiet. I will disgrace and embarrass people today. Everybody wants to have an opinion. Oh, Daddy Freeze, I heard what you were saying.
Hi, Daddy Freeze.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm sorry, I would not want to come on video. Is
I'm
that
sorry.
okay?
I can't bring you if you don't want to come on video. Everybody's showing their faces. All right. I'm so sorry about that.
All right, thank you.
All right. Please, if you want to ask a question, be ready to be on video. The other lady that came, as she came on video, did she buy?
No, I'm not asking a question.
So what do you want to say then?
I just want to give him kudos for the job well done. I use the services, so that's what I just want to recommend people in my sector.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you very much, my sister. God bless you.
Thank you.
Hello, me, Antonio KK.
Okay, no problem.
All right, we have another person here. Can you please show your face?
Oh, I don't know why it's not showing. No, hi. Can you guys see me?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
All right, go ahead.
Good evening, Nigeria time, then good afternoon, our American time.
All right. Good afternoon. How are you doing, sir?
Good, sir.
Are you in Nigeria or are you in America?
If I'm in Nigeria.
I'm asking, where are you? Are you in the US or are you in?
Oh, I'm in US. I'm in US.
Okay.
Yes. Sir, I was going to ask you a question that, about the lady. I have a cousin that have that same problem. The lady that just went off about the visa. I think it's because you came to have the baby. I know you pay all your bills, but they still don't care. They thought that you have validated the visiting visa. That was why you came. And
violated, yeah.
Yes, you violated. That's why they're not going to give it to you. But keep trying. One day they might release it. Yeah. Okay, sir. My question was that the lawyer. My question was that what about somebody that came into America without visa, no visa? You know how sometimes people came into a country when they don't have anything to come in. Maybe they use somebody own, you know? Yeah. So what about if the person is married to a citizen in America and she have kids? So if a petition for her, they're going to give it to her?
Well, it becomes more complicated there because they didn't come inspected. All right?
Okay.
They did not come inspected. So even if you're married to a U.S. citizen, you will need a waiver. You will need to eventually go back to your country and apply from there. You first of all need a waiver. It's a whole complicated process, you know? So, yes, they can still marry. Nobody stops you from marrying anybody, but it's a long process. You need a waiver eventually.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because I've seen some people that did it. They gave them a working permit already.
Well, it depends on what they did. Did they file for asylum? Because sometimes, you know, one thing with immigration is this, especially when you hear what people say online. Oftentimes you don't get the full story. Believe me. Oftentimes you don't get the full story. I remember a few years ago, was it 2 or 3 years, when one celebrity went viral. Everybody say, oh, they're about to deport him. He even came on your show. I don't want to mention his name, but I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. Yeah. He was on your show. I listened to his story. I was laughing. I said, there's no way. If this guy has a lawyer to help him, there's no way anything will happen to this guy. Now, he moved from, oh, they are going to deport him, to the next thing we saw him celebrating his citizenship. Okay?
Yes. Yes.
That is the reality. You need to be properly guided. Don't go by what you hear, because a lot of this story you hear are true. And the difference is there's another thing, there's this another misconception people have I want to point out here. Oftentimes you hear people say, I couldn't get a divorce because the other party refused to sign.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't exist. It doesn't make any sense at all. In the US, okay? Most of the divorce cases that we do deal with, you are simply filing to say, oh, our marriage has broken down irretrievably. We are no longer together. I just want a divorce. The most important part of it is to serve the other party. All right? You use a constable or a deputy sheriff. I'm saying this because it's a major misconception among the immigrant community. Somebody will say, I couldn't get a divorce because the other party refused. What does that even mean?
Refused to sign. So what about if the other party refused to sign? What would they do?
If they refuse, that is where you use a constable. If the constable, I'm talking about Massachusetts, but it's similar everywhere. Don't get me wrong. Please, if you are in any state, look for a lawyer there to help you. I'm not advising. In fact, let me say it here. Don't take my advice for it. Before you embark on anything, seek the services of a lawyer. What I'm saying there does not create a lawyer-client relationship. Let me say this, please. So what I'm saying is that when you serve with a deputy sheriff or a constable, all right, if they serve them, great. They will show you evidence of the service. If the other party is avoiding service, all right, what do? You go back to court and apply for motion for service by publication. And what does that
What
mean?
in Nigeria they call substituted service.
Substitute service by publication. Once you publish it in a newspaper around the person's last location, it will be deemed that that person has been served. Okay. Once the publication is done, you go back to court and file it. The court will go ahead and fix a date for a hearing, and the case will be granted a divorce. So please stop running around with this misconception that, oh, the other party refused to sign, therefore I couldn't get it. That doesn't make any sense. The law does not tie two people together. If you want out, you are out.
Oh, okay. All right, Daddy Free. Thank you for accepting me.
All right, my darling sister. God bless you.
Bye. Thanks, lawyer.
Bye. Take good care of yourself.
Take me out.
Just press the star, the X up there. All right.
So the US is a great place. If you want to come here, all I'm saying is do it right. I've lived in Nigeria. I have lived in the UK. I have lived in America. I know 100% I'll pick America over everywhere. All right. So I just need you to do the right thing. Make sure you are properly guided at every stage of your process, so that you don't come here and get stuck.
All right. So, my dearest brother, I think this is where we draw a close.
Yeah, we've tried.
Now you try. But I believe people want to see you again.
Hopefully.
I may be wrong, but I think they do.
And
it's be good to indulge them.
No problem.
So they can learn more and have more ideas about these things. So what do you have to say to the people here, and how can they get in touch with you if they are interested in using your services as an immigration lawyer?
Yes, you can always reach me. My number is there, 978-601-6099. You can reach me on that number, both regular call and WhatsApp, 6099.
All right, we're going to say that number again. Let me mute TikTok. Is there a way you can type the number so I can pin the number?
You can reach me on WhatsApp and on the regular call.
Okay, have you typed the number?
Yeah, I did it. I sent it to you.
Okay. Is this the number?
Yeah.
+1 978 601 6099.
Yes.
All right, guys.
Yes.
+1 978 601 6099. If you're interested in using the services of an immigration lawyer based in Massachusetts in the United States of America, send a WhatsApp message right now. The number again is +1 978 601 6099. What are your parting thoughts, sir?
My parting thought is simple. Do it the right way, be guided. All right, be properly guided. And also, I normally get this message from people, especially when they've used certain lawyers. When you have immigration, that's why I said I wish we could just speak a language that we Nigerians will understand alone. But I want to let you know that most times when you have your immigration history, your story is straight. Let me say it this way. All right? If you have a lawyer, and you are not comfortable telling your lawyer certain things about your history, all right? That person should not be your lawyer. Do you understand?
100%.
That is one thing I want to tell you. If there are certain things, don't forget that when you discuss with a lawyer, whatever it is supposed to be confidential. But if you find yourself uncomfortable saying certain things to your lawyer, then that person shouldn't be your lawyer. And also, I've had Nigerians and Africans complain about lawyers who seem to be biased, who have some biases towards them. If you find yourself in that kind of situation, especially this divorce decree thing has really created a problem for everybody. If you have a lawyer who feels uncomfortable, who is, from your own instinct, you think they are having bias against you, you have to reconsider what you're doing. Okay? And also be careful who people who call themselves immigration agents, immigration specialists, they avoid using the word lawyer. Those are the agents I'm talking about. They are not accountable to you. They are not going to sign off on any application you are doing as your attorney. So they don't owe you any professional or ethical obligation. Okay? And when things go miserably wrong because of their own omission or commission, you can't hold them responsible because on record they are not representing you. That is my patent thought.
So, brother, thank you so much, and God bless you. Look forward to hosting
Thank you.
you again.
Look forward to seeing you again.
Very soon.
Thank you very much.
Take care, guys. Once again, the number is +1 978 601 6099.